Welcome to Ageless by Rescu. This podcast is devoted to exploring the science of rejuvenation, uncovering the most trusted experts, the must-have products, innovations, and technology in the field of vitality, aesthetics, new beauty, and cosmetic enhancement. I'm so excited to have Olivier DuVillard on Ageless, the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Bahar. I'm very excited to be here with you today. Thank you for inviting me.
You've been guiding my ageless journey since I think I was about 38 or 37. So it is only perfect and fitting that you should be on this podcast. You're kind of the CEO behind the CEO of a lot of big cosmeceutical brands and cosmetic brands. What you don't understand about hope in a jar isn't worth understanding. So let's talk about ingredients, because I think that this is the first layer that is a bit scary for people to navigate. And you've worked with cosmetic chemists and you've advised brands on what they need to develop in a product line. Do we look at ingredients or do we look at product when we're making a skincare decision?
Oh, that is a big topic here, just right in the heart of it all. There's definitely a lot of education in the past few years, and we can thank, the DCM brands or The Ordinary or Inky List, to just really have helped put focus forward on some ingredients, but also at the same time, it's confused, I think, customers even further in some ways, because now we're talking ingredient-specific focus formulation instead of talking about results. And I think sometimes it kind of complicates the whole equation. So there's definitely a lot of questions out there, and people are very confused between which products and ingredients are the best for their skin. And I think there's not one answer. And obviously, there's not one answer. There's a budget, obviously, that comes into the equation, but also there's the science behind it. I think ingredient-specific focus on the routine is important to understand what you are using in your skin. But for someone who's not willing, or not so much willing, but who just hasn't had the time to spend in terms of educating yourself and what are the myths, not only about the ingredients, but also are there some true tried and tested scientific basis from the claims. I think it's always best, to me, would be to go with a trusted brand and go with your skin concerns and what you're trying to achieve, rather than focusing on the single ingredients. I think it's a simpler way to start.
You're absolutely right about concern being the place to start, because when I was doing research for Ageless, the thing that was resounding is that we as men or women are never looking for a product or an ingredient or a treatment. We're actually looking by concern. So we might say, I'm searching for something that's going to help with bags under my eyes. And at that point, I'm open to receiving information about iron infusions. I'm interested in eye products or serums or creams, but I'm also equally interested in PRP or other treatments. So if you're looking at concerns, what do you think, say in our 20s, what are the key concerns we want to treat? And so what would you suggest a good routine would be, and the key things to incorporate into your skincare in your 20s?
Wow, that's that's definitely when you want to start, like prevention. We start aging, as soon as we hit the late teen years. So I think good prevention is always the key. So I would imagine getting into a good routine, simple routine, nothing complicated. I would definitely have a good cleanser suited to skin type. So, usually it would be like if you are young, something that is obviously helps with oil flow. So something that has some light AHAs or fruit acids to kind of help exfoliate the skin cells and clear the sebum. Obviously AHA and BHA, so BHA being salicylic acid. Usually it's very good to clear out deeply the pores. So a good cleanser that features those would definitely be my pick if you're not sensitive, obviously. But in the 20s, sunscreens would be definitely the one and only thing you would absolutely must use day in, day out.
Can I ask you a question? Is it really that important how we cleanse? I mean, everyone says it, but does it really make a difference in terms of the quality of your skin? And should we be spending money on, we know we should be spending money on good ingredients, but should we be spending money on good cleansers?
Wow. Okay, that's a good question. I would say that's where you want to save. There are some really good cleansers out there that would be in the budget-friendly area from some great brands out there. Not obviously there's some research, but some chemist pharmacy brands. There's definitely cleansers would be something that is on your face for quite a short time. So that is not the power kind of product in your skincare that will make the biggest difference. There are some simple cleansers that features the ingredients that you need. You just need to do a little bit of research, and I would definitely go, if you want in your 20s to save some money, the cleansers is not the number one thing you'd spend money on. You would want to have a great sunscreen suitable to your skin type that you'll love wearing. One of the most important thing I always say is I've stole that actually from Lab Muffin, is your best sunscreen out there is the one you like to wear every day, right? So there's no right or wrong sunscreens. There's a lot of very complicated myth out there and scare tactics, but this ingredient is scary for you because it's going to poison you over time. But it's all about true research that should be backed, making those claims instead of listening to a brand that's trying to sell their product that obviously is not featuring it. So I think that's why customers get complicated. But for me, sunscreen in your 20s is your number one weapon against aging. It doesn't help you reverse aging, but certainly will help you age slower and ensure that you keep your skin integrity over time.
So in your 30s, you're going into a more corrective phase of your skincare. What are some of the things that you would always advocate, adding in? So we've got good cleansing, we've got great sun protection, maybe one or two treatment products that we're using in our 20s. Where do we go to in our 30s, and what's happening to the skin in our 30s?
Well, in your 30s, we'll start seeing the environmental damage, obviously, of your skin is experiencing through, obviously, the natural process of aging. So you will start losing some, so your skin laxity or firmness, the lovely bounce that you have in your 20s. And also you will start seeing, especially in your mid 30s, that's when you start paying for all the years we've had in the sun before we knew better about sunscreen. But that's when you start seeing pigment going out of control, and you wake up in your mid 30s with definitely a few more fine lines, and especially pigmentation start popping here and there. So early 30s, definitely, or even late 20s, I would start using some definitely a bit more powerful serums. So including the chemical exfoliants. So chemical exfoliants are your fruit acids, so AHAs, glycolic acid, mandelic acid. Those are all AHAs. And then there's an array of serums at any budget price, obviously, or more expensive complex formulation that will help to exfoliate and resurface your skin, increase the cell turnover. And I would absolutely, the number one ingredient you want to look for is a vitamin A product. So that's going to help. It's the wonder ingredients, and that's always say when people ask me, what would you use if you had to let go of everything? I just skip my vitamin A, but that obviously gets paired with an SPF. You cannot use a retinol or retinoid kind of product without using SPF daily. But that's the one that's your most research, most trustworthy product that will reverse aging. It's got so many proven researches behind it that you would definitely want to pick a retinol product.
So one of the things that I hear a lot, and I was actually speaking to Elle Ferguson before, and she was saying that during lockdown, she got very experimental with her skincare and over-treated her skin. So one of the things that when you first start using exfoliating products, it's quite addictive because your skin feels and looks so good. And then you can go a little bit overboard. And I know that you worked on the Dr. Naomi skincare, you work with the chemist to formulate it and with Dr. Naomi. And there's some really great glycolic treatments in there. And when I was given the night mask, you told me that this is not a product to leave on overnight. And this can be like super addictive because it makes your skin look so good, but it's also really active. How many actives should we be using? And, you know, you said always retinol with sunscreen, but there is a trend towards layering serums. There is a trend towards lots of actives. How many actives is 2 actives, and what actives should you never use together?
Oh, that's so many questions. I think there's definitely a trend. There's 2 conflicting trends that's happened in the past few years. Is obviously brands like Ageless or Ordinary and all those ingredient focused serums that are single ingredient focused have increased the layering. So you have very complicated routine, and people get very confused in how many serums they should use. They mix and match at home, trying to make sense of obviously how they should apply and which order. And the counterbalance, which is happening at the moment, it's the simplification of your routine, where people are, you know, you end up using some of these brands, you end up using 6-8 serums because you just need so many of them to actually make up what you need for your skin or your skin concerns, that it gets so complicated and confusing. And also you get an overload of serums on top of each other, which at the end of the day doesn't help with penetration of the ingredients, right? So you layer too many serums with too many silicones or base that kind of end up piling on. Sometimes they start boiling. There's obviously, it's when you just did too many. So the counterbalance of this, the current trend, is people are simplifying their skincare routine and investing in probably a little bit pricier serums or moisturizers, but that features a lot more ingredients in the one formula, which I think will simplify your routine. What is too many ingredients? I just don't really have a clear answer on this, because some of the more complex formulations obviously features a number of, you know, your A, your vitamin A, obviously your vitamin C, your vitamin B3, the niacinamide. There's so many other wonder ingredients out there that you want to ensure you have somewhere captured in your routine, especially also some of the peptides. So that's kind of the things you want to look for in your serums. But I would say, as soon as you start applying more than 2 serums at night, and then your moisturizer, and then you have potentially an oil on top, that's where I would really stop adding ingredients. And your skin, you will feel it. I always say with active ingredients, you need to feel your skin. Too many is not better. I think we are, and I come from, you know, a background of perfumeries, where my mom used to work in perfumeries. That's where my love in France. She used to manage perfumeries. I used to be surrounded by creams, and I think there's a counterintuitive feeling out there, is that a little bit of skincare or cream that feels good, I should put a lot more and I'll feel even better. The skincare science has increased so drastically since, you know, my days with my mom in perfumeries, that the cosmeceutical science and the level of active that is allowed in skincare these days, or that people are willing to actually put out on the market, has really drastically changed the game. So, and people tend to think that, oh, I really like this serum, exactly what you said about that overnight mask, one night stand, which is 15% glycolic. It gives you a good old tingle, and it's called overnight because if you get your skin used to it, you are able to use it overnight. And yes, it's addictive because it gives you that complete resurfacing. You wake up in the morning with just that complete perfect shine skin that you experience with high glycolic levels. But if you do that 2-3 days in a row, you will flake peel and you might be irritated or potentially react. So that's when introducing new actives in your skincare is the most important thing, is just to remember, the slower the better. You will get the result. If you go too fast, you will react. Give your chance to your skin to adapt. Do every other day, every third day, especially if you do vitamin A you've never used, and then you gradually build up. And I think that's kind of a rule of thumb, is with any new active skincare, just go slower, because the counterintuitive thinking is really that we just think, oh, because I love a little bit, I'm going to put a lot more. But this is no longer the case if you're using active skincare brands.
You brought up, they're the best advice, and you've had to tell me to go slow many a time. but you brought up something else in
I
terms
had
of
to take it myself.
it's hard to take. One of the things that you brought up was peptides, and that peptides were like the cure-all to everything in skincare a few years ago, just as, you know, AHAs were the cure-all before that. So as we're entering our 40s, tell me about what kind of technology we want and we can now get out of skincare, because most likely you're also dabbling in a bit of injectables, laser, you know, ultrasound for firming. What are the topical skincare breakthroughs that you can now also introduce at this kind of 10-year phase of your life where you can really start to see the aging process?
So definitely, you know, I'm very familiar working with doctors for many years, and I've experienced all the treatments that you should definitely. I think they work hand in hand. I think to talk about treatments, and especially injectable, there's a lot of people that you can see out there that have a lot of injectables, but they still look older. And then you kind of realize quickly working in skincare that's because they don't treat their skin. You cannot do one without the other. I always say the injectable will give you the structure, so your face is the frame, and the injectable will give you the volume with fillers, the anti-wrinkles. So I'm not going to say the names, but will definitely help drastically with reducing obviously movement and obviously minimizing fine line and wrinkle. But you're left with your canvas. So you've taken care of your frame. The canvas is the skin. There are many researchers out there, and there's a big one from, I think it was Oli or Procter & Gamble that did, and it's complicated, but basically they took the skin mapping on a standardized face of any ages, and I think they had no wrinkles, and they were asking people to give an age to people just based on the skin texture. What came out of this study, in short, is that pigmentation, uneven skin tone, redness ages you just as much as wrinkles. I think people tend to focus on wrinkles and they forget the skin texture, the skin even texture. So if you start to be blotchy, red, pigmented, this will make you look older, or definitely age you just as much as your wrinkles. And I think there's kind of sometimes that people forget until you are reminded that you need to look after both. Once you've done all your injectable treatments, skin tightening and all this, the skincare will help to kind of maintain the results and improve. There are a number of now skin tightening ingredients. The thing is, these long term, you know, anything that touches with skin laxity will take a long time. It's collagen building. It will take at least over 3 months to kind of see some bounce and results. But there are also some practicality where you can add some instant tensor into your serums, which give you that immediate lift, knowing that it's backed up by potentially some vitamin C, some of the firming peptides we've discussed. So not all the peptides is a buzzword. Peptides, there are probably now hundreds out there. There's really maybe a handful of peptides that truly have some scientific backup that is not driven by the manufacturer, but is really been researched. You know, so Arden, which is your numbing peptide that is featured usually in eye cream, has truly shown that it reduces wrinkles and over time, like by quite significantly. If you use it in your skincare or eye cream, it's definitely a must. Any of the firming ingredients, there are some really good ones that we've used in the Dr Naomi Skincare, which is a really cool Australian organic kangaroo paw flower extract. I always say it's not the paw of the poor kangaroos, it's a botanical extract, but that has got some really outstanding scientific research in terms of skin lifting and minimizing wrinkles, and it's really a cool organic ingredient found in WA. So you can definitely add those firming peptides and ingredients out there. There are quite a few that will work to kind of maintain and help your skin to synthesize more collagen and elastin. But as I said, this is not going to do it, right? So you will only see the result that you expect from, you know, maybe some skin tightening ultrasound treatment, and then your skincare will help you maintain or enhance those results. But skincare can only do so much.
So when you're talking about some of these, wonderful advances in skincare technology, one of the things that I always find interesting is that we always talk about advancement in technology, but a lot of beauty companies like to go back to history and say, the women in Japan who washed their hands in the rice water for thousands of years had the most youthful skin. The women in the Middle East who had hammam baths since, 500 BC, they've got the most useful skin. When you're working with a brand and you're looking for innovation, do you look to different cultural beauty rituals, and is there merit in going back to go to the future? Are there things that used to be done? I mean, you and I laugh about olive oil, and J-Lo's claimed that she's never had any injectable in her life, and the power of squalene and olive oil is her secret ingredient. But are there some traditional treatments, ingredients, products that really are anti-aging and really are miraculous?
I think there's definitely merit in all these ingredients, because these are the source of, even the new ingredients, whether they're synthetic, they're inspired by obviously science, and then sometimes they are replicating, natural ingredients, but you can get a more predictable result batch to batch. And also with natural ingredients, botanical extract, you get a very different quality from batch to batch. And then what happens now, like for Candela asiatica, or you can go down to the Macedonceto, I can never pronounce that word, but it's kind of the extract actually is the active part of that plant. So you kind of narrow down to which is the part of the plant that actually works. So when you go back to the ancient beauties, milk, you know what? Milk is your lactic acid. That's why the bath in the milk, that's where it comes from. Lemon water, citric acid, that's an AHA. So all of these has the merit and has been brought forward into many of the products in today's, but we've narrowed it down further down the chain. Instead of using the milk or fermented milk with the probiotics, we use kind of the ingredient itself that is the active part without kind of the surrounding, because we've been able to, with science, extract that, the most potent part of it.
So if you do have a preference for natural products or organic products, are there certain products or ingredients that work really well in that more natural state that, is worth buying? And then other things that you really want to go towards a more cosmeceutical or a more potent formulation to get a real result?
Oh, the trick of it all. I just think it's a big part of what your lifestyle is about. And also, obviously, I'm not going to go around it, but if you really want active results and faster results, you definitely will go with a science-based. Okay, it doesn't mean it cannot be natural. There are plenty of ingredients, as I just discussed, that have been, lab distilled, but they're still eco-certs, meaning they are organic, but they've just kind of managed to extract the active ingredient out of the plant rather than giving you an organic oil or an organic oil extract, which can be unpredictable batch to batch and quality from an ingredient from different manufacturers. So that's why you get a lot of question mark on a purely organic botanical oil-based. I just don't think you will get the results that you want if you really want to go into an anti-aging routine. But it doesn't mean that if you want to stay within the botanical realm and organic, there are plenty of now ingredients that are within that family that are active and that will give you the results. Some simple things like vitamin A, you can get from some keratin, which is what it came from, but by the time it gets to do what a retinoid, pure retinol form will do, it's never going to be comparable. So when those natural brands say this vitamin A, this is just a really long lead until you get any benefit from it. And I would never actually use one of these products against a pure retinol product or retinoic acid.
Rosehip oil is a hugely popular treatment. And I always find it, I mean, look, I know so much about cosmetics, I know so much about formulations. But, you know, if I sit and listen to someone or an influencer or an expert say, I only use rosehip oil, I cleanse my skin with olive oil, there's a part of me that kind of goes, oh, yes, I want to be that natural. I want to put, you know, food grade things on my skin. And then I say to myself, well, you know, you're 47, you need more than, you know, that hope in a jar element. But I do wonder what things, you know, like I was saying, what things can we do more natural? What things should we rely more on science? So you're saying that the pure active ingredients like vitamin A should really be derived from a more cosmeceutical grade product. But there are, if you can find a brand that's extracted the actives in the correct way, is EcoCert, is pure, there are products that can be used with efficacy to get a good result from that natural side of things.
So look, as I say, it's just a lifestyle. It's like what your diet is. I think we're all humans. We mix and match a little bit of what we want to cherry pick. You know, if you're absolutely vegan, organic, you can find a brand that suits your lifestyle. It will be harder to find an active, highly active, the further down you go into the extremes. And I always say that with a lot of contrasts. I would really just think that if you want to indulge or make sure that the products where you want to have the bang for your bucks are your serums. That's it, right? So you just get good serums, which is with your AHAs, some niacinamide, vitamin B3, vitamin A, vitamin C, if you want in the morning for obviously firming, just under your sunscreen, helps with, you know, antioxidant protection against the sun. These are the basic, you know, the A, B, C, it's so simple. To really just get those from some good brands. There are pure vitamin C extracts that are, you know, synthetically made, or you can get it from kakadu plum extract and things. But as I said, this becomes a lot longer lead until you get the 10% vitamin C that you need to get some result, right? So I think it's where you want to choose the actives to deliver to the standard that you want without the guesswork. Having an extract that has vitamin C is very different than having 10% vitamin C in your serum, right? So just I would go with what I know is get the ingredients that I need at the percentage that I think will be efficacious. If you want to be then in the more indulgent, and then obviously in your skincare, and a part of skincare is enjoying doing it.
Yeah, compliance is from enjoyment,
and I call
right?
it, you know, just so important. It's so important. It's just how it makes you feel when you just do it at night or when you do it on the weekend for a special moment. And these are the experiential products. And these you can really indulge into that more botanical, experiential texture, scent. So that's your, you know, cleansers. That can be a lovely hydrating mask. That can be even your moisturizer. Your moisturizer does not have to be highly active if you've got the serums that do the job. And also, obviously, in the current trend, the oils, or obviously they're very nourishing. They can be made of a complex mix of botanical oils, and they help to regulate your lipid levels and nourish the skin. Then, can I just do a little quick one on oils? It's just people tend to use them as a serum.
Yes.
Meaning before your moisturizer, they need to be used on top because they are water-free, because they're oils. There's no water in the formula, and they're not moisturizing, right? So you cannot moisturize without water, and that's your moisturizer that does that. It's got a water-based formula. So your oil goes over to minimize, they say like it acts like a seal, so to kind of minimize the water loss from your skin. So if you use oils and as a treat to just kind of nourish and replenish your skin, it's wonderful, but it has to be your last step with your above your moisturizer to get the benefit from the oil. If you use it before, you just putting oil and you're not letting the moisturizer or the moisture from the water from your moisturizer get into your skin. So that's one of the important steps to make sure that you get the best out of your skin.
Yes, it's a good one. Okay, I'm going to ask you, because you've been on the marketing side of things for some of the biggest brands in the world. You know, you've worked with L'Oreal, you've worked with Elizabeth Arden Company, you've worked with Ultraceuticals, you've consulted the brand, and now you've created your own brand in partnership with Dr. Naomi, which I think is a really interesting step, because you must have fundamentally believed there were missing things in the industry to be part of a creation of a brand. I'm going to ask you about certain product categories, and I would really like you to myth bust whether we need them, and if we do, why. So my first question is around men's skincare and women's skincare. Is there a difference? And do men need to use men's skincare and women use women's skincare?
That is the biggest myth in the industry. It's just, I think it's more, as we say, to make male comfortable using, looking after themselves. So you put it in a great packaging, but at the core of it all, the ingredients are what you need. So male skin is thicker, oilier, tends to be. So you would want to use more AHAs or moisturizers that are not as rich to minimize oil, but it's more about the ingredients that are in the formula than whether it's for men or not. It's there's plenty of formulations out there that are suitable to all skin types in some ways. So male skincare, no.
So you can borrow from your husband and you can steal from your girlfriend.
Absolutely, without any issues. There is no true science. As I said, it's about the skin type you're talking about. It's an oilier, thicker, and obviously there's beard and things, but this can be absolutely, you can use your wife, girlfriend, partner's skincare without any issues, as long as it's suitable to your skin type.
Okay, so next one is eye cream. Is it a different formula? Do you need it? When should you start using it?
So yes, there are different formulas. Usually you've got to be a lot more mindful around the eyes because it's so much thinner skin that requires a lot more soothing, hydrating ingredients. And obviously you cannot use as much, like for example, retinol, you wouldn't want to go too hard around the eyes because obviously your skin would get very much irritated. So yes, the eye cream formulas are different to the one that you have in your face cream. But if you have to save some money, use your moisturizer around the eye.
And when should you start using an eye cream, really?
Generally, I'd say probably mid to late 20s. Yeah. Before that, you can really kind of use your moisturizer, but there are obviously some eye creams like we've just launched called Catfish, which give you an instant lift and blurring, which kind of crosses over with makeup. This is definitely can be used at any age to give you that kind of instant kind of eye perfect contour area. So that's a bit of a more cosmetic trick, as well as the long-term benefit of the ingredients that are in there, like tensing, firming ingredients and brightening and peptides that will give you a long-term benefit to using it, but also the instant benefit of looking amazing as soon as you apply it. So
one of the things I found is when I started,
because of the,
sorry to interrupt you, when I first started having Botox, I don't know if you remember back in the day when we were children and we started using Botox.
Back in the day, just a few years ago.
But I stopped using eye cream because I was loving my eyes so much. Like, you know, there was no movement. They felt so fresh and beautiful. And then they were like literally for years, I didn't use eye cream. And then I think you slapped me into reality and you said, well, it's not providing any hydration. It's not providing any, you know, lightening of under eye circles. So if you are getting injectables or fillers, you have to stick with the eye cream, right? You still have to use it.
Yes, absolutely. That's the part that we're discussing before. It's your Botox or fillers will not do what the skincare can do in terms of your skin quality and helping to kind of continue to produce your own collagen, firming and tensing. And obviously some fillers will help you with the hyaluronic acid and natural production, but you need to look after the canvas, the texture, the skin clarity, the quality of your eye area will really depend on your eye cream. Absolutely.
Okay, do we need toners and what do they do even?
Okay, so toners is definitely a step. It depends how much time you want to spend. So if you have to skip one, please do. But in saying that, there is a new category of what I call the essences. So that's marketing for you. That's a toner in people's, there's no, all right, I'll start, sorry. There's no proper definition of what is a toner, what is an essence, or what is a serum, for real. It's really every brand will use a terminology that suits their core philosophy. A toner / essence / serum could potentially all be interchangeable. But in a toner, in the people's mind, it's mainly about a psychology. Toner implies potentially stripping or alcohol. So it implies that you're kind of stripping your skin. That's kind of a little bit old-fashioned. And I think there's a movement or trend to kind of move away from the word toner to use some more of the essences. So the essence or power essences, it's a category that really, I guess, sits within the order where your toner should be sitting, but provides moisture, hydration without stripping the skin. So it's a lot more gentle approach. And I think the word essence implies a nourishment, or obviously some well-being, and obviously some comes from some of the Oriental or Asian brands that have obviously launched. SK2 is very famous for their essence. It's really a step to kind of help the skin to absorb better your skincare. The general rule is your skin is like dirt or earth. If it's dry, if you pour water on it, it won't absorb very well, right? It takes some time. So you're much better using an essence and prepping your skin to wet or humidify your skin before you apply your power serums as such.
And let's go about all the treatment products that are now kind of infiltrating skincare brands. And you certainly, with Dr. Naomi Skincare, you've got a few fun ones. And for treatment, I think about masks and I think about exfoliation products. Do we need them? How often? And are the at-home products good enough?
So, sorry, I'm just going to go through the categories. So exfoliants, you're talking about mechanical, like the scrubs, right?
Yeah.
Because there's the chemical exfoliants being the AHAs. So if you use a chemical exfoliant daily, highly not recommend an exfoliant that has granule, because potentially this will irritate your skin further and you don't need it. If you use an enzyme or AHA chemical exfoliant using your serum or potentially in a moisturizer that you have, your skin should not need to exfoliate. So you're already increasing your cell turnover and shedding. You should not have that rough texture that needs to be polished, which is the old-fashioned ways with the scrubbing. People with oily skin tend to do that and over-exfoliate. It only just irritates the skin and increasing the sebum production, so you get oilier. So to me, it's one of these. Switch to an AHA chemical or enzyme exfoliant if you're a little bit more sensitive, and you probably can get rid of your face exfoliant as such.
Okay.
For the masks, they have a place, absolutely. For a place, they kind of your routine boost, and also it's a moment in time where you want to look after yourself. So many masks do many functions. You need a boost of hydration, so you would pick something that is a lot of hyaluronic acid and obviously a lot of moisturizing ingredients and rich and fills your skin with joy, I call it. When you feel hydrating and plump, there are some masks like the one we've just launched, PhysiLift. It's a 10-minute instant glow. You can apply it, it physically oxygenate the skin immediately and give you that flushed look and perfect glow, like you're getting ready for a party. So that's your complexion pick me up. So this is the more moment in times. And the one we discussed before, and there's plenty out there, the overnight resurfacing. So that's kind of your powerhouse that you could not use every day. You should not use every day. But once a week, if you can handle it, it gives you that extra kind of boost to your skincare regime to give you the results faster that you want.
And finally, what
goals,
about
for that
tools?
perfect skin?
What about tools? Do you advocate using?
Love them. Love them.
What would you recommend we should all invest in?
Oh, that I just think a good vibrating sonic device cleansing. There's plenty out there on the market.
The sonic
that will
cleansers?
Definitely boost your cleansing routine.
You mean the sonic cleansers?
So they vibrate sonic vibration. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Sonic vibration that will kind of help remove deep down the dirt and debris that you've got in your pores or makeup. And that will really, you know, as we know, cleansing is really the building block of a good skincare regime. So if you've got clean skin, and that will really help to enhance the rest of your skincare routine as you apply it, because you've got really the perfect prep to absorb and enhance the skincare routine. I think there's plenty of benefits to the microcurrents. I just have to be diligent. They do work. They're they after that it gets the gua sha is obviously works lymph massages. It just you have to be more diligent with those. I always advocate the gimmicky ones. You will use them a little bit like even at home needling if you are inclined to do that. There's a lot of risks involved. I would always think you'll get a better result. If you start kneading yourself with a roller at home, there's potentially a lot of damage you can create yourself to your skin by overdoing it, doing it too deep, doing it too often, doing it in an unhygienic way. So I think these treatments are better left to the professional. And I think now these days, this is my new favorite that I'm using regularly. There's even now LED masks. So they're red and infrared masks, which we are used to doing in clinics with your Omnilux or Hill Lights. Those are the leading brands, but so people understand what I'm talking about. But these days you can have a much dulled down version, obviously, of what you can get in the salon, which has over 1,000 lights. Those masks only have about 100, but you can apply it at home whilst you're working, sitting on the couch. And this has really truly so much research behind the benefits that I would definitely invest in one of those.
You brought up lights. I'm just going to quickly segue to something because you were the first brand that I was aware of that it incorporated blue light buffering technology in your moisturizer. Can you talk to me about the damage of blue light and what it is and what products you can use to potentially prevent that damage?
Yeah, obviously blue light is a hot topic. Blue light is part of the visible light that we all experience, obviously from the sun, but also it comes from your screen. So that's your phone, tablets, computer, and our generations are spending so much time in front of our screens that there's a lot of blue light rays or UVs that have been emitted that we obviously need to still do a lot of research. But there's still obviously people debating whether we need a blue light protection, but there's no evidence that we shouldn't. A visible light protection is important. It's absolutely one of these new array of the science that we're finding out about because we're spending so much more time. And any light, and there's many brands that are advocating, for infrared, visible light, and blue light protections because this is one of these new area of science where we're finding out the damages. And as time goes by, we will find out the amount of damage as the researches go on. So now that the technology through some ingredients, and usually the marine algae ingredients that help you to protect from blue light, visible light, including the blue light. So it's like a sunscreen, I guess, against blue light, but also some of them refract the heat from the sun at the same time. So for someone who's prone to melasma, so that's pigmentation, they would react usually to heat. So this is also something that helps you to refract a little bit of the heat that you can experience. So these ingredients are fairly new and being promoted in some of the sunscreen brands. We have it into our Screen Time, which is an environmental shield, but also in one of our super oils called Lift Off. So they both also help you protect from blue light and your screen emissions. So definitely highly recommended to investigate further in that area.
I'm going to wrap it up with a funny story. I know your mum, and she is the epitome of a French beauty. And, you grew up in France, and where, the women are famed for being beautiful and stylish and ageless for a long time. But it's funny because it's a culture of sun worshipping, often, quite indulgent with their food. It was a culture where smoking was quite liberally tolerated for a long time. What do you think gives French women that ageless beauty that the world fetishizes so much?
That's a tough question. But if I look at my mom, she's given me the love of skincare. She wakes up every morning and I've never seen her disheveled. She brushes her hair and she comes out of the room with moisturizer on. So this is one of the things that I do myself. Even if I wake up at 5 a.m. to go train at the gym, I will not leave the house without having put some moisturizer on. After that, what is the ageless part? I think, aging well in terms of how comfortable you are. I think your silhouette helps, obviously, to make you ageless. If
Your silhouette.
you stay in shape.
Yes.
Your silhouette is very important. It's the way you hold yourself. I think it's part of also how you present yourself. And I think with my mom specifically, obviously, I think it's just her hair. It's always the hair. She looks always immaculate. Has always had a very, glamorous hairstyle for all these years, and even now in her 70s, she's always maintaining, and you'd never see her being disheveled. So I think just some maintenance, some simple tricks, but I think the silhouette is also one of the key. I think is how you hold yourself will make you. If I was just hunched like this, or if I hold myself and maintain a figure that I'm happy with, I think it definitely helps with being ageless.
And you've definitely kind of plunged down the ageless path yourself, and you pushed me into a new ageless path with exercising, because you inspired me with your devotion to F45 and the transformation that I saw you undertake once you really doubled down on a new way of kind of living your life with exercise and training. Tell me all the things that you really think have paid off in your 40s that, have really helped you feel more vital, act more vital. Are you taking supplements? Have you tried, biohacking techniques? Have you changed the way you eat, sleep, anything like that?
All right. So yes, definitely. Look, I've, we found some love of exercise, which I always exercise all my life. And I think, I had a few years off in my late 30s to early 40s. Now I'm 48. Last 3 years, I had an event with my dear husband where I couldn't close my jacket and was very upset with myself. And pretty much a couple of weeks later, I signed up to an F45 challenge, and that really changed my life. And I'm not a paid ambassador by any means, but I lost 8 kilos. And I really found a love for fitness, but at my age. I used to lift heavy weight, go to the gym, which I don't do anymore. I just do a 45 or HIIT, high intensity training, works for me, keeps my heart rate up, plus 10 kilos. I feel better. I look better in my clothes. I fit back in my pants. I'm a size 30, which I had not been since I was in my late 20s. And I'm like, I just didn't, that was not what I wanted out of it. I just wanted to put my jacket being back on. What it did to me is focused myself on the importance of everything works together to be ageless. So I think, as I said, with my mum or French women, I think the silhouette is an important part of how you present yourself. But more importantly, it's just taught me about how I should relook at my diet in some ways of eating. So I've changed a little bit how I eat. I eat more often, smaller portions, and I make sure that I'll look at the macros, meaning that I tend to eat meals with more protein than carbs, or at least a balance between the two. The things that I've learned: fat is not the enemy. Good fats are your friends, and sugar is the enemy. Sugar. Natural sugars is not an issue, but I wouldn't definitely have anything sugary without being conscious that I'm having sugar. And that's really completely helped me maintain my weight and diet very easily. The things that I've changed is I do drink sometimes, but I don't tend to drink calories. That means I wouldn't, if you eat and if you add a fruit juice, completely useless. So calories that you can definitely avoid. So I switch all this for natural kombucha, which has barely any calories, has some probiotics into your diet. So it just gives me the impression I've got a special drink. Or I would have a vodka and kombucha if I wanted to have like a good time. But same like wine, wine has so many calories, and obviously I enjoy a glass of red wine, but I'm well aware of the amount of calories that I ingest every time I have a glass. So I think in my 40s, I've made some conscious choices, added some supplement vitamins. I'm not also promoting them, but the Bio Excel from Blackmore's is like Bio AC, I think it's called Excel. It's just absolutely wonder supplement. That's what I take daily, and magnesium and zinc for training. So I'm just trying to be well-rounded across the board, but also I'm not a saint. So I'm just, but also I understand the consequences. That's all.
And have you had treatments? Like, tell me all the things that you've done to your skin and to your face.
Is it better to tell you what I haven't done? No.
Okay.
No, I've had so many treatments. I do regularly peels. That's like face peels. Sorry, with my French accent sometimes. I've had needling several times. I've had PRP, which is obviously your blood plasma that is being spun around and re-injected with your growth factor, natural growth factor into your skin. I've had skin boosters. I have had several skin tightening RF radio frequency treatments, obviously, especially at our age, to maintain that defined jawline. So very importantly, I have had filler everywhere, pretty much in my face. With men, I always think slower the better for men, that to maintain male aesthetics, and find a good injector. And then obviously I have had filler in my chin to strengthen there, a little bit here. Don't tend to go too far around here, because for that I've experimented more recently with threads, the short threads, which is a wonderful way to increase your skin thickness and resilience, so give you some volume without that very volumizing effect that some fillers can have. So it gives you, I've had them here, I've had them around my eyes, and what they do, they dissolve within 3 months. So what they do, it creates like a wound response and thickens your skin around them. So they create a mesh, and then your skin's regain some of that youthful thickness and resilience. So I think it's just a great way to keep your skin looking youthful as well.
Is there anything you're curious to try that you've read about or heard about that you think, oh, I'd love to try that?
I think I'm pretty well-rounded, so I'm just trying to think about something. Definitely, anything that has to do with biohacking, or I think in Australia we're still a little bit behind in terms of the things that are allowed, and compared to the United States, we are a little bit more experimental. So there's definitely things with HDH and things like this that we, not quite right now, but in my mid to late 50s, that I'd like to be able to access, if we can, in Australia, to ensure that you maintain as youthful as you can, using the science that is out there and available. It's just in Australia we haven't quite gone there yet.
Well, thank you so much for telling me, telling all of us those steps. I think the myth busting around skincare is so interesting. I think it's really nice to know that there are some things you can save on. And I think it's also good to know that it's in compliance, as in using the skincare properly, that you're going to get the best results. So it doesn't matter what it is, as long as you're using it correctly and regularly, and that you can get really good results from skincare. I've seen it. I always tell people this: I have better skin now at 47 than I did at 37. I look at my photos from my 40th birthday, which you were at, and my skin texture, the smoothness, the brightness, definitely the evenness of skin tone is so much worse 10 years ago than it is, now at 47. And I always say my skin is my hobby, and you're definitely, my go-to person for skin advice.
We've definitely had a few peel party at home.
We have had a few peel parties at home. We have had a few peel parties at home.
But yes, the best skincare advice you can give is to stick to your regime and be diligent. This is when you're going to get results. I think people get impatient, and you just will never get, whichever brand you choose, just give 4 to 6 weeks at least to be consistent. You will go through a purge phase. You might break out. Doesn't mean that the brand is bad. It doesn't mean the product's bad. It depends. If it's not sensitive already, just get through your skin changes and the physiology, and then you will purge, and then hopefully you'll get some clarity after that. So give your your best chance is to stick to a diligent routine and consistent, and you'll get some result for sure.
Well, you are a walking example of consistency and results at any age and an ageless attitude. I love you. Thank you so much for being on my podcast.
I love you. Thank you so much for inviting me. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please share and rate this episode. I'd love that.